Davinci Resolve 19 is finally here. The wait is over. So in this video, I'm going to talk you through 7 super cool features that I'm incredibly excited about. But I'm also going to critique Blackmagic design a little bit because there's still some features that I really wish they were going to add in, but they didn't this time. So I'm going to have a little rant about that towards the end of the video. So stick around to check out what those 3 features are that they didn't add that I really hope they will one day. The first one is text-based timeline editing. So before, in Davinci Resolve 18.5, they added the option for you to be able to transcribe a clip. So you can see all of the dialogue as a text format, which was really, really cool. Initially, you know, it was good that we could transcribe and you could basically highlight certain sections, then add them into the timeline. But you could never actually edit in the timeline via text, and Premiere added this feature maybe a couple months ago, and now Davinci's finally got it. So I'm going to show you how it works. So here in the timeline, we just have a clip of me talking from a previous YouTube video that I have. So before, the only thing that you could do is click on the clip in the timeline, press this button here, and then that would transcribe all of the audio into a text format, which is doing right now. It should be done, hopefully soon. So when this is done transcribing, it looks similar to what you've probably seen before in Davinci 18. You've got all the text there transcribed, but there's a few new buttons that make this whole transcription feature, oh my God, it makes it so good. This button is the transcription of everything that is in your timeline. So all of your timeline transcribed. So if we hit this, you will see that this clip is fully transcribed in my timeline, which means that we can do some really cool stuff. So what we can do, probably the most amazing feature, oh my God, it's gonna save so much time, is this little button here. And what this is gonna do, when I hit it, you can see what happened in the timeline right here. What happened is that it got rid of every single gap of me not saying anything. So any like, or making mistakes, or me just being like, oh, what was my line? And then I'm looking for 20 seconds reading my Notion script to try and remember my line. It just got rid of that. Amazing. So that is gonna save so much time. So in this instance, it took a clip that was once 19 minutes and 31 seconds, and it took it to 16 minutes and 5 seconds. So that's just gonna save a bunch of minutes here and there. Like, I guess the longer your clip, the more clips you have in there where you're making mistakes, the more mistakes that you make, it just is a one-button solution to solve that problem. Because otherwise, as we were doing before, I would have to be going into here, clicking here, cutting, going here, cutting, and then rippling, and then I'd have to do that for every single gap. But this just takes away a lot of the process for me with one button, so that's pretty amazing. And this is just the start of this transcription amazing features. If there's a line in here that we don't like, or we know that we're going to get rid of, instead of having to find it via listening back to it, we can search for it, for example. So let's say I don't like when I said script. All the times I said script, I hate it and I want to get rid of them. So it's highlighted this instance here that says, okay, that's the scripted section. I don't want that in my edit. So what we can do, when we highlight this, it's going to set the in and out points of that text. So here we set the in and out points, and the in and out points move to that line of me saying it in the video. But the amazing thing that we can do is we can right click it and we can press delete, and it's gone. It's gone. That's crazy. So that just means that you can very easily go through your timeline, delete parts that you want, delete parts that you don't want, all based on what you're actually saying to the camera, what your script was. So this is amazing. It basically is going to save so much time. When I know that I've clearly messed up my line, I can just very quickly delete it via this rather than having to play back and scrub through and trying to find it. There's other cool features like this. So transcription now allows you to have speakers, so you can very easily assign a name to each speaker, and that just helps with your ability to go through the actual edit itself. But these are the 2 features within the transcription that I feel are the biggest deals, especially this one that gets rid of the ums. And it just means that I'm going to use this transcription feature way more often than I ever really did in Davinci 18. The second amazing feature is faster magic masking in Fusion. I pretty much use magic mask in every single one of my YouTube videos, and there are some times when I feel like it is a bit sluggish, it is a bit slow. It does an amazing job when you actually do the magic mask track, but it can be quite slow sometimes depending on the length of the clip. So this new update just speeds up any magic mask that you do in Fusion. So let's see an example of this. So here I have a 10-second clip, and let's hit magic mask, and let's do what we do usually, which is just draw around it, draw around the sections that we want to cut out. We want to cut this, want to cut this, want to cut this. And then once we're happy with how it's looking, let's just go ahead and track it. And now it's basically not quite real time, but it's way faster. So just a nice update, a nice improvement on magic masking, which probably many of us do all the time. I do in every single one of my videos. So it just means that we can just actually get to work quicker instead of waiting for the magic mask to be done and looking on our phone and scrolling away, hoping that it's going to get done soon. So yeah, just makes the process of editing and doing any sort of VFX a lot nicer and quicker. Number 3 is better tracking with Davinci's new AI tracker, Intelitrack, which is basically an updated tracker that Resolve is using for both the color page and the fusion page. So if you're doing any sort of tracking and then you want to track text to it, it's just a new algorithm that apparently is a lot faster, more stable, and more of an accurate track. So let's have a look at this lovely cat here, and then let's hop into Fusion. And if we hit tracker and search for that, you can see here it just says Intelitrack. So Intelitrack is basically the new default tracker that you can use. You can use this, which was Point Tracker, which was the original tracker. So you can still use the old one if you want to compare it, but it defaults to the Intelitrack. So let's select it. Let's select this little buddy cat's eyes, hit the operation mode, hit match move, then let's do our track. And it looks really, really good. From there, let's track back. And as you can see, it just sticks really, really well to the eye. It's pretty accurate. Let's actually test the point tracker and do the same thing and see how accurate it is. I mean, it's a pretty contrasty eye, so you would expect it to do a really good job, but this is pretty much perfect right up until the cat leans down and his eye disappears, which is fair because it can't track if the eye isn't there and it can't see the eye. So let's do the point tracker, which is the original tracker. And then let's do the exact same thing. So the thing I'm noticing immediately is that it's way slower, way slower. The Intelitrack was blazing fast. This is doing 8.36 frames a second. That is very slow. And wait, what? Is it switched eyes? No, it switched eyes. Yeah, what the hell? it just randomly switched eyes here. It's like, yep, not that eye, bloop. The normal tracker definitely had problems, and I experienced quite a bunch of these, but the Intelitrack was way more accurate. I'm even going to do it again just to be sure. Yeah, it's so much faster. Look at that, average 33 frames a second of tracking. That's crazy. That's so much faster. Pretty incredible that Davinci has just made tracking work like more than 3 times faster. So yeah, just making the AI, the algorithms faster. So that means that when we actually have an idea in our heads of like, we want to do motion tracking, we want to do a cool thing, you can just very quickly do it and you're not waiting around. I think that's the beauty of editing softwares and just tech getting better, is that it's actually making us just not sit around and get bored and get distracted and taking us out of the flow of being creative. And this Intelitrack seems to be doing that. So bravo, Blackmagic, a great update. Intelitrack is also available in the color page for all of the power windows. So again, you don't have to use point trackers anymore. You can use something like Intelitrack, which clearly is more accurate. Number 4 is having organization within your favorites folder. Now this may seem like a little thing, but anything that helps keep your project more organized is a win for me. So essentially in the effects panel, before you had favorites, but your favorites were not organized at all. Whenever you clicked here and then you started something, it would just be a very unorganized list of favorites on your screen. However, now the favorites folder actually is categorized the same way that the normal toolbox folders are for all of your effects. So as you can see here, if we click favorites, all of the effects that I've favorited because I use them regularly and want to access them quickly are all here. So my editor collection, which I use all the time, link in the description if you want to download them, they're amazing. My Mr. Alex Text Magic Anime, some other like user presets that I've made to transition, adjustment clips, things like that. They're all here organized. It's actually encouraging me to favorite a lot more now, because before it was just a bit of a mess to organize. So I didn't want to like favorite 20 different things, 30 different things, just in case it became a bit of a mess. But now having everything really organized as either a full list or having it organized in very specific segments, like only the titles, only the generators that I have, is really nice. And it just makes the user interface feel a lot more clean and makes me want to go breath of fresh air, making the user interface cleaner than it was before. Number 5 is automatic audio ducking. So many times when I would edit, if I wanted to drop out the sound and then bring it back in, I would always have to keyframe. Always have to do manual keyframes to dip it down when someone starts talking, then to bring it back up in sections where there's nobody talking to the camera. So automatic audio ducking does that automatically, obviously. So essentially what it does is that if you have somebody like this handsome Jen over here talking, and you have audio underneath it. So what we would have had to do before is keyframe this audio. So when I'm about to speak, which is roughly there, I would have had to drop it down to an adequate level that made sense so we could actually hear what I'm saying. So the audio would be doing its thing. Okay. All right, so let's see what's going on. And then I would talk, right? And then you would actually be able to hear what I'm saying. Now, you don't have to do keyframes. You don't have to do any keyframes anymore. It's not necessary. All you have to do is click on the track and you'll see this little thing called ducker. You click on it and then you've got to tell it like which source do you want to duck with the music. And you have a level here. So let's put it on like 12-ish, depending on how much you want it to actually duck down. I think it's in decibel levels. I'm not sure. I need to experiment with this a bit more. It's a very new feature. So let's put it on 12 for now, and then let's play. All right, so let's see what's going on. So the biggest change
see
that
it's
I
ducked
can see
down.
it's hitting 10 decibels. And then when I'm talking, it's going down to like 24 decibels. Super cool, right? Like this is gonna be so useful for It actually, playing that back, it just reminds me of like a radio show or something where they're like, welcome to BBC Radio 1. Got dance beats all along. And then it's like ducking automatically. It's going to be so useful for edits where I can just let the AI, let the software automatically duck for me. Save me time. No more keyframing, no more messing around with that. Super cool feature that I'm excited to be using in future edits. Number 6 is the trim edit tool. So this is a tool that came directly from the cut page, but I don't really use the cut page that much, but if it makes my editing better in the normal edit page, I'm happy. So essentially what it does is it just makes you being able to align cut points a little bit more efficient and better and more accurate. So before, if you wanted to mess around with these two clips here, for example, which is lady on the beach looking stunning, and then this cat here, before you would just click in between and then you would slip back and forth to find exactly when you wanted to cut in. And you had a frame guide here, so you could see like, okay, I'm adding 6 extra frames of the cat here, or I'm adding 8 frames less of the cat, and you can, you see the views on the screen to line it up. Well, now if you double click this, you see a extra window pop up here where you can see the timeline of what you have and the 2 clips that you're trying to slip between. And you can more accurately align it because you have the frames of both here. So for instance, if I grab this, that's basically the same as what I was doing before, but you more clearly see the frames. And actually I find that when I'm moving my mouse, it's a little bit more slow. So it's a bit more accurate to count how many frames in you want. And then if you don't want to do that, you can grab the bottom one here, so you can slip just the bottom one left and right and ripple it in. Same thing for the top one. You can just do that if you want it less to make a gap for whatever reason, if you want to make like a gap of a certain amount of frames. So it's quite a nice feature. It just makes trimming a bit more simple, straightforward, especially if you want to be a lot more accurate with where your cut in and cut out points are going to be. And finally, number 7 is the Text Plus tool. Has a bunch of enhancements that I'm really excited about, especially when it comes to people who make plugins, because one of the things that I was asking for a long time is being able to have control over like individual characters and individual words when you're animating. And you couldn't really do that before. I was speaking to Jake Whip and he said that when he was making his plugin collection, he found it really difficult to be able to give it a lot of customizability because the Text Plus node was lacking in some stuff. But now Text Plus has gotten way more feature rich. There's more you can do with it. And that makes me very happy. So let's do Text Plus, and we have it here, and then let's drag it in. So what we can do, we click this tab, and then we do Fusion Overlay. You actually now have a cursor on the Text Plus node, so you can type directly on the viewer itself. So let's do hello YouTube. And then this is where things can get even crazier. We can right click, press template, and then allow manual positioning. And now you can do crazy stuff like this where you could individually, control texts. And then I guess, I'm not sure if you can do this in the edit page. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong, but it theoretically means that you could keyframe every single letter individually. You'll definitely be able to do this in the Fusion page, that's for sure. But yeah, it's pretty cool that they've made Text Plus a lot more feature rich, which for me means that predominantly a lot of the templates that I already use are going to get updates. Things like Jake Whip's editor collection is going to get an update, most likely, where we're going to be able to have way more control over text animation, so we can make stuff look way more cinematic, way more professional. As much as I'm happy and grateful, Blackmagic, you've done all these updates, amazing. I love a lot of them. There are still a bunch of stuff that I really wish they were going to add, and I'm going to say it now because I think the more I rant about it, the more they might actually happen. The first one is a bit controversial, which is having a playhead that can stick to the mouse cursor. Final Cut Pro has this, and when I was using it for about a year, and then switched to Davinci Resolve, I missed it dearly. It makes editing so much faster to be able to have your cursor just move and the playhead sticks to it. It just makes it way easier for you to find points, to cut them, to select them, to look at the waveform, to cut gaps. It just makes everything way more fun because in a way, currently all of us are editing like this anyway, but instead of, we're moving our mouse cursor within this box here to grab the playhead, and then we're moving it around, we're being like, we want that. If we have audio here, we're scrubbing through, we're clicking on it, we're clicking here, we're clicking that, we're getting rid of that, we're getting rid of that. Like, we're constantly moving this playhead around. So why can't there just be a setting here where you can allow the playhead to stick to the mouse cursor? It just means that we get rid of an extra click of having to constantly like drag up here, and we can very easily be like, move our mouse, go here, go here, go here. I honestly don't know why they don't include this as a feature. Yeah, like as long as we can turn it off, that is all I care about, because if you don't like it and you're really against this, which some of you are going to be, then just have a toggle to take it off, and then you don't have to use it if you don't want to. But for people like, Final Cut people who've realized that it's such an amazing workflow improvement, especially on laptops when you're using a trackpad, it's so much more efficient to have it so the playhead moves around with the cursor. Makes editing way faster, cutting way faster, and it makes just selecting clips in the timeline faster. So please add it. I really hope they do, because it's something that I'm missing dearly from Final Cut. And then whenever time that I hop into Final Cut on the rare occasions, I'm like, oh, it's such a good feature. Apple, you invented something that is amazing and should be in every single editing software. So I hope one day they add it. We'll see. And in DaVinci 19, they've actually made a tweak to the way the playhead works, because there is an option here that allows you to have a fixed playhead. So essentially when you play something, the playhead stays in the middle of the timeline and the timeline scrolls around the playhead rather than the opposite way. So, this is okay. Like, this is stepping in the right direction, and it's kind of cool because if you stop it, you can hover your mouse cursor here, and then, you can drag a bit like this, but it's not the same as having a playhead stick to the cursor. So it's nice. Maybe some people love this and wanted this, but it's not the same thing as having the playhead move to the cursor. So please, Blackmagic, please add it. It would be, it's the #1 feature that I'm missing and wish DaVinci had. Feature that I'm missing, #2, is probably way less controversial, and I think a lot of people would actually agree that this should be a thing, which is to have some sort of search console that you can automatically bring up via a keyboard shortcut, search whatever effect that you want, and then press enter, and it adds it onto the clip above the timeline. This already exists in Fusion. You can press shift spacebar, type in Magic Mask, and then it automatically adds that node. Why can't this also exist in the edit page and maybe even in the color page? Like, it would just be so useful to, instead of having to click effects and then drag the effect on, or double click the effect if you already have a clip enabled, why can't we just have a keyboard shortcut that we can hit, and then we can put text plus, enter, and then text plus is already added on? It's crazy because Premiere Pro has a version of this. It's a third-party plugin that does exactly this, where you can type in whatever effect you want and then it adds it in the timeline. And Final Cut also has a version of this that is a third-party plugin where you type in what you want and then it adds that effect onto the timeline. So I don't know why nobody's built this before. Maybe DaVinci people watching this who are a lot more intelligent than me with the Fusion and the backend and scripting, there's a reason why it's never been made before, but I just think it would be incredible, and I'm sure Davinci and Blackmagic could actually make it if they really wanted to, and it would just make editing so much quicker. You've got an idea for an effect, you want to add it on a clip, you want to add something, maybe you could even have it so you can type in to search for a clip name or something, and then you know that you have like a B-roll footage of a cat walking, and you type in cat walking, and then it adds it straight on, rather than having to drag your mouse up here to find it. So I think that would be an amazing feature. It would just speed up editing a lot more. It would shave off a few seconds every single time you want to do something. Please add it in, Blackmagic. It would be amazing. And finally, number 3 would be to have the ability to group audio tracks in the edit page. In Fairlight, there is a way to do this, but I also wish that there was a way to do this in the edit page, because there's so many times where I'm working on a bigger video project and I have like 3 or 4 stacks of sound effects, and sometimes I don't need to look at them, so I just want to collapse them all down into a very thin timeline, and the only way to do that is to like individually select them all and drag them to squash them. But I just wish there was a grouping system where I could way more heavily collapse that row of audio, and then I could name it and put sound effects, and then that is just the sound effects tracks, but they're actually all collected into one track. This thing is commonplace in music production. So Ableton, for example, has a lot of grouping features with tracks. If you didn't have any grouping, it would be so annoying to navigate the software. Also, you'd be able to do cool stuff like add a specific effect on a whole group track, and then it would affect every single track within that group. Or if you want to just mix, you could, add minus 10 decibels just to that track, and it would affect every single audio clip within that track. I don't see why they wouldn't add this to the edit page eventually, because it already exists in Fairlight. So I really hope it makes its way over to the edit page, because it just means that we have way more control over our tracks. We can hide them more easily. Again, this is a Final Cut feature. Final Cut does this with rolls, and it's just really useful to be able to solo tracks and then only see like your dialogue, while also knowing that the sound effect still exists there, but it is taking up a minimal amount of space in the UI. Please Resolve, this is another one that I hope we get sometime in the near future. So those are my 7 favorite features of Davinci Resolve 19. There's actually way more features that got added in this update that I've left links in the description for, of other YouTubers who've talked about them. So you can go and check them out if you want to get the full overview of it, every little thing that got introduced into this new update. If you want to speed up your workflow with Davinci Resolve, definitely check out the plugin packs that I have in the description from Mr. Alex Tech and Jake Whip. They're amazing. I use them on every single video that I make, essentially. If you want to get way more speedy and efficient with Davinci Resolve, you should check out this video right here, where I talk through the plugins that I use on every single YouTube edit that just make editing way faster, way more enjoyable. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already, because if you do, I'm going to give you a sneaky peek into Davinci Resolve 20 in 2 years' time. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.